an investment fund for specifically for Bitcoin maxis, and we tried to design it the best that we could with with the available jurisdiction and laws and everything. And yeah, if you invest, you'll get the golden visa. The fund is 8 years, so we'll liquidate the fund in 8 years, and we'll repay in sats again. So yeah, we're gonna launch that, and we're very bullish that Bitcoiners will see it as the better way to get the golden visa.
Andre, we got you out of the rain here.
Yeah, a bit unlucky with the weather. Huh?
Yeah, it's not supposed to be like this in El Salvador. We're in November is usually like the start of summer. It's not supposed to rain at all, especially this late into November. So it's been this weird freak storm that we've had.
Yeah, we arrived yesterday from San Salvador, and it was pouring hard.
Yeah.
But well, it's good to be here anyway. It's like
This isn't your first time here, is it?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to come back during.
It's an excuse to come back soon again.
During the sunny season. So was Nashville the first time that we met, or had we met before that?
I think so.
Okay. During the HRF event, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I know my memory is not very good,
Yeah.
but I think it was in Nashville the first time. Yeah.
So Andre is the mastermind behind the Free Madeira project, and also the Bitcoin Atlantis was the
It was
conference.
organized by Free Madeira. Yes.
Okay. So would love to have you give people a little bit of your background. It's funny. The first time I heard about Madeira ever in my life was at the Bitcoin conference. What was that? 22?
22, yes. Miami 22,
Yeah.
yes.
So I remember they said they had this big announcement. There's 3 countries that are going to be adopting Bitcoin. It was supposed to be the follow-up to the El Salvador. And then I sat in there and I was like, I feel like you guys are stretching a little there, because it was Prospera, which I'd never heard of before, which I guess is a semi-autonomous, region of Portugal, and then Mexico.
No, Prospera.
I'm sorry, Madeira.
Madeira is a semi-autonomous region of Portugal, and then there was Prospera. That's basically a free city.
Yeah,
not
it was a free city with like 300 people in it. And then Mexico, it was, a senator was going to make a proposal, but there was no chance it was actually going to pass. So it was, it definitely felt way overhyped. And so, I left feeling from that like, this seemed a little scammy. But then as I heard, stuff that was actually going on in Madeira, while maybe it wasn't presented, correctly at the conference, that there was actually really cool things happening there. So, but I had never even heard of Madeira before. So I guess the announcement did that work. It put you guys on the map and got people thinking about what was happening there. And then you guys had an amazing turnout for the conference.
Yeah.
I was thinking about going, but I've been traveling a bunch and I wasn't feeling that well. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go. And then I'm like, started getting FOMO at the end because like everybody was going. So
it turned out to be an amazing conference. But, we should, you're talking about the announcement, so we should get, roll back a little bit and
tell us where that came from, even like
exactly.
Where
so
did the
people
Bitcoin
can understand
community...
why that happened and how it unfolded basically. So because it's basically my personal story. I was I've mentioned this a lot of times in the past. I was 2 years and a half ago. I was basically the only, in my mind, I was the only Bitcoiner in Madeira. I was a bit infected, as we all are, Bitcoiners, thinking about Bitcoin every day. But there was no community around me, or I thought it wasn't. I was basically on Bitcoin Twitter, just and listening and podcasts and books and everything.
Maybe before we get deeper in that, maybe just tell people a little bit about Madeira, because there's probably a lot of people like me who'd never
Okay.
heard of it before.
Okay, so
And
Madeira is it's an island, as you said. It's an outermost region of Portugal. It's a semi-autonomous region of Portugal. We are a little island, like two islands actually, Madeira and Porto Santo. We are closer to the Canary Islands of Spain, so closer to the coast of Morocco than Portugal, actually, so a bit to the south of Portugal. Um, we have our own government, our own parliament, but it's semi-autonomous, so we don't have full powers. We are not independent or sovereign. There's a lot of things we still have to comply to the Portuguese government and the EU on top of us, right?
Quick interruption with an exciting announcement for you guys. We have the Plan B conference coming to El Salvador. For those of you who have gone to the conference in Lugano in the past, you know what an amazing job they do. So I'm super excited they're bringing it to El Salvador this year, January 30th and 31st. So we got a little promo video to show you guys, and then we'll get back to the podcast. But as you can see from the video, there's just a number of the top speakers from the space that are going to be coming to speak. We're also doing a full Spanish track, and I think this is the first time any conference has done like a full Spanish track alongside the English track. So we have two stages that are going to be Spanish only. We really want to focus on having an impact on Latin America, so I'm excited that they're doing that. The other thing that they're really focusing on is circular Bitcoin economies. And obviously at Bitcoin at Beach, that's what we're all about, is circular Bitcoin economy. So we have actually been very involved with helping them put on this conference, and very much encourage you guys to make it part of your schedule for this year. We have a discount code for you also. So if you put in Bitcoin Beach, you will get a discount. So make sure you get your tickets now before they go up in cost. And then also make sure you get your accommodations, because it is going to be packed in El Salvador during this conference.
But the island is amazing. It's been since the discoveries, the shipping days, it was actually a wealthy place back then, because it was part of the routes of the shipping, the navigations. There
it
was
was kind of a halfway point for a lot of trading ships, right? That they would
It
stop.
was the first stop.
First stop, okay.
It was usually the first stop when we went to the north Africa, the north of Africa, and also to Brazil in a way. So there was a lot of sugarcane production, a lot of commerce, and then the British also settled there. Later, of course, wine production. The Madeira wine is very famous all over. So it was very cosmopolitan in a way, and a lot of trade and money, I guess, at the time as well. So it was okay. But then, of course, over the years, it went down, because it's a very small island. Sugarcane popped over on many other destinations of the world. We have a big connection with those places, actually, like Hawaii and Guyana and Suriname and so on, where a lot of Madeira people went to teach on how to farm sugarcane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even in Suriname?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I was just there last week. So
yeah, there's a big connection, actually. I'll tell you a fun story. The ukulele, for example, which is the most famous instrument of Hawaii, it's from Madeira, actually.
Really?
Yeah. It's called braguinha. It's not called ukulele. But people went there to Hawaii to start to teach them how to plant sugarcane and how to produce it properly. And then a lot of the people that worked the fields, they brought the braguinha, because it was a very common instrument in Madeira. But it became very famous in Hawaii, and they called it the ukulele now.
That's funny.
So that's a funny story. But well, Madeira was somehow of an important port at the time. But then I said, some industry started, like a lot of British, because of the wine production and so on. It also became a touristic destination. There was a lot of shipping. People went there for a few months to.
Well, it looks beautiful. I mean, I could see why tourists would.
It is amazing. It's called the Island of Eternal Spring, because the weather is very moderate along the year, and a lot of mountains, a very prehistorical forest in the middle, the sea. But at this time, at the same time, it developed quite well, especially on the last years with the tourism, the infrastructure. There was a lot of money poured from Europe. We have to admit, a lot of waste as well, a lot of over the top infrastructure as well. But in
Yeah.
the end, we got it, and nowadays we can't complain.
And what's the size of the population there?
It's 270K
Okay.
around, but a lot more on the outside. So on the most difficult times at the beginning of the century until 1960, 70, a lot of people emigrated everywhere. So there's huge communities in South Africa, in Venezuela, for example. Just for people to have an idea, in Venezuela, it's estimated to be 1.3 million.
Really?
Yeah.
From Madeira.
Yes, because and they were people of strength. You know, the weak man,
Yeah.
strong man thing. At the time, there were strong men in Madeira because they had to. It was a port thing, so they shipped you with nothing in their pockets. They went into Venezuela. They worked hard, and now there's a huge community with a lot of businesses there. So there's this big connection with Venezuela, and yeah, it's an amazing island. The quality of life is very good overall.
So you were living there. You felt like you were the only one, the
Yes.
only Bitcoiner in the world, in your part of
Yes.
the world.
Yes. And then it all started with Monstera. So it was not called Monstera at the time, but I established a publishing company
Okay.
because there were no books about Bitcoin in Portugal. And as a Bitcoiner, I was also trying to, search them. And I was at a bookstore once, or again, looking for Bitcoin books, and there was nothing. And when I was leaving, there was this top 10 sales, and on number 6, it was a shitty crypto book. And it made me realize there's demand. People want to know more about this, but this is just bad information. So I'll do something about it. And I'm already a businessman. I had different businesses in Madeira. I had no expertise in publishing whatsoever, but I really wanted to do it. So I started reaching out to people. And Jeff Boot was the moment it all turned because he replied to the message. He agreed on giving me the rights to his book, The Price of Tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And that was the first one of many that we now publish
In Portuguese.
in Portuguese for all Portuguese-speaking countries. So we have the rights to Portugal, Brazil, Angola, Mozambique, and so forth.
Okay.
So that was the start of it all, and it kind of allowed me to start having some connections in the Bitcoin space. Jeff Boot, Gigi, Daniel Prince, Samson, and so on, which then led to Miami because non-related, the president was visiting one of my other businesses, which is a co-working space in downtown Funchal. This was after COVID. I was already a full-on Bitcoin maxi. Of course, I already had Monstera books, but I had no idea of reaching out to the president. It never crossed my mind. But he was visiting the space because he was interested in seeing with his own eyes the nomad community and the expat community that was flocking to Madeira after the COVID. And we had a lot of foreigners there working and so on. He wanted to see it. And at the end of the visit, he was at the reception and he was talking about how Madeira suffered from COVID because imagine it, a very touristic economy stopped entirely. And he made him realize that they really needed to start betting a lot more on attracting different kind of businesses to the island. And he was betting a lot on attracting tech-related companies mostly. And I just went for it. I said, maybe I can help. There's this tech called Bitcoin. I pointed at the Bitcoin accepted sign there at the reception. And that was where I had my opportunity because he then replied, "Oh yes, these nomad people, these young guys are all using crypto and this and that." And I said, "Oh shit, I need to do something about this so I can clear what Bitcoin is and crypto isn't and all that." So I really need to do this. So because I already had the connections, I sent a message to Daniel Prince at the time saying, "Man, I need to speak to you like right now." So we eventually had a call at night, and I said, "Look, there's an opportunity here to work with the president. He said he would love our help to to attract more businesses to the island. What shall we do?" And we started talking, and the original idea was to bring Samson to Madeira
Mm-hmm.
so he could have a meeting with the president. But then there was like agenda conflicts; it was impossible. And then that's when I started having really crazy ideas. I said, I called Daniel again, and I said, why don't we try and bring the president to Miami so we can, be there and understand, and maybe we can organize some meetings with some people. And after 2, 3 meetings, we were able to convince him to go. Um, and originally, it was only to have meetings with certain people. And I have to tell you, the Bitcoin, as you know, the Bitcoin community is really amazing. They when they see there's interest and there's someone trying to do something for Bitcoin, they open up and they help. And we were even received by Michael Saylor in his villa. He had a long conversation with the president. Um, Jeff Booth, Preston, so many people. So it was just that. It was basically a knowledge tour with Miami and some private meetings, so we could understand how Bitcoin could be important for Madeira in the future. So the announcement was not planned at all. That was just some, how it is. Everybody was excited.
Yeah.
Actually, I can.
Felt like there was pressure to follow up on the El Salvador thing.
There was a
they
lot of
wanted something to be
There
able
was a
to
lot of
announce.
pressure, but I have to, fun fact: the president was really excited at the time. I think he never saw Miami was big in 2022. It was like 30K
Oh,
people
yeah.
or 35K people, something crazy. And I still remember. This is a really fun fact. I hope he doesn't get upset that I share this. We were, I was with the president and his Haiti, and we were walking the expo area, and he was seeing all the companies, all the movement, all the kids, and he turned to me and he said, "Banks are fucked." So I thought that was really funny at the time because banks are fucked. These young people don't care about banks anymore. They all have their own alternatives. They're gonna do like and that was really funny. So he was indeed, I think, excited. Of course, he didn't still grasp it.
Yeah.
I don't think he still does, honestly. But his intentions were good to open up try to announce that Madeira would be Bitcoin friendly, and he would welcome all entrepreneurs and companies that would like to settle there. It was part of the strategy of Madeira more tech, to increase the tech industry in Madeira. So he went with the flow, and the wording he used on the announcement was not correct, because it led to some confusion, because people didn't know Madeira. They didn't know it was not a country. It's just we have limited powers. It would never be. It's not possible to declare legal tender in Madeira. So that was never a possibility. What he meant to say, it was a Bitcoin friendly welcome to Madeira announcement, basically. But as you said in the beginning, in hindsight, it was good because it put Madeira on the map. It raised awareness. It allowed me, because I already had that planned, if everything went well with the trip, that I would ask him or inform him that I was going to do the non-profit on the side for
And that was
Bitcoin.
free Madeira.
Yes.
Okay.
So I already had a plan on
Yeah.
how I wanted to structure it, and it wasn't with government. It was always meant to be an independent organization. But yeah, it turned out well because everyone was excited. There was a lot of momentum, and in a way, it kind of pressured me to deliver
Yeah.
because the guy announced it on stage. That wasn't planned. Nobody was expecting, even me. So I realized, shit, I really need to bring this forward like full on, because I don't want, it's my own reputation. I brought the president here. Now the guy announced this, and if it depends on them, nothing's going to happen. So I'll do it, And that was it, basically, the start of it all.
So I heard a funny story. I don't know if this was just total rumor or if this really happened, but somebody told me that they suggested to the president of Madeira that they should do Bitcoin mining in Madeira, and that he responded like super excited, but how do you know if we have Bitcoin in the ground here?
No, that's a lie.
That was a rumor.
That's not true.
It sounded too good to be true. So.
Yeah, that's not true. He's not well informed in a lot of Bitcoin matters, but not as deep as that.
I figured that was just a made up story, but it was funny.
But
so from that announcement, then was that where the idea was born to do the conference there?
No,
Bitcoin Atlantis?
No. So I already had planned to do so I had a discussion with Jeff. I was already preparing the trip a few weeks before the trip to Miami, and I had some conversations with Jeff, and I shared with him how if the trip was successful, how I would follow up, and shared with him the idea to create a nonprofit outside of government and so on. Jeff agreed, thought it was the best process, and yeah, I was able to convince the president. Well, I actually didn't need his approval, because it was an outside organization anyway. But of course,
but it's always nice to have their support.
Of course. So I rode the momentum. It was nice to have his support. So we indeed created the organization a few months later. We had to create all the incorporate and all of that. I also invited a lot of people to be advisors, like Jeff Booth and Lawrence and Samson and Gigi and Troy Cross and many others, because I already wanted to create some advisory board that could help me with all the strategy of the organization going forward.
Yeah.
On everything, on economics, on energy, on education and so forth. So I was very lucky from start to have this amazing advisory board that I could go to and ask for advice and guiding. We started having some weekly or every 15 days meetings with the advisory board, and right, a few weeks later, I had the idea to do a conference. I said, I pitched the idea to do the conference. I think it would be nice to bring the advisory board over, have a small thing, involve government, some business, but it was meant to be a small thing. Like, the advisory board was like 10 people. But then it completely blew out. Because Jeff started calling some people, oh, this is interesting, let's do it, and then suddenly Jack Dorsey said yes, he would come, and then I said, well, let's try Michael Saylor's also. He received us in his villa, so I convinced the president to send a personal invitation to Michael Saylor, an official invitation. So Saylor said yes in the end as well, and then I was like, oh shit, this.
I mean, you guys went from nothing to this giant. I mean, that's all everybody was talking about.
Exactly. We were very lucky. Frame. I'm a very lucky guy. It was the advisory board. It was those.
Well, it's not an easy place to get to either. Because I looked. I was like, I'll just look at flights, and it was like, it was not going to be a quick.
We have a lot of connections. Yeah. Being a touristy place, we have a lot of connections to Europe. But coming from this side, it's harder. Of course, you have to go through London or Lisbon or. Now we're going to have a lot of direct flights to New York, which is really cool.
Okay, nice.
It helps a lot. But yeah, it completely blew out of proportions. But let me go one step back. I'm missing an important step here. After the conference, we set up the company, we created the advisory board, and I organized a trip, the first trip of the Bitcoiners to the island. And we had like 12 people coming there with a full week of meetings with the government, with the Secretary of Education, the Secretary of Finance, and many other stakeholders, and just visiting the island all around. And that was the turning point, because I think all the advisory board finally saw Madeira and how amazing it was. They were all in love with Madeira, and And then, the conversations kept going. We had the conference. Jeff was really bullish on bringing all these people over. He helped us invite a lot of these big names. And then at one point, I just said, "Fuck it! This is a big conference. It's not a small conference. So let's go for it." And I don't like to do things. When I commit to things, I like to do them properly. So let's do it. And we were very successful in the end. Well, we had help from the BTC Pay Server guys and Blink and Fernando that brought us the Bitcoinized machines.
Bitcoinized machines. Yeah, he was super excited about that. I remember him saying how well it worked there.
It worked really well.
Yeah.
And actually, fun story as well. Fiat payments failed on the first day of the conference.
Nice.
The Fiat gateway failed, but the Lightning payment was perfect. So it was workable in the end. And we did a lot. We did over 2 Bitcoin in overall payments on the Lightning infrastructure in 3 days. It was amazing. It was almost 120,000 euros.
That is amazing.
It was great.
So I can see why once they visited once, they wanted to come back. It looks beautiful there.
It is.
So this was for those listening on the podcast, we're just showing a little bit of the promo video that they had for Bitcoin Atlantis for the project.
Yeah, Madeira is a beautiful island. We were also very lucky with the venue because we had the support of the government. They helped us.
You had all the big name speakers.
Yeah, all the big names. We had over 200 speakers from all over the world. But yeah, very, very big names. Everyone was there, basically.
Yeah.
Shame you couldn't come, Mike, but there were many people here, all the big names.
Well, I know even a lot of people from El Salvador came. The Mi Primer Bitcoin crew all
Reina was there. Yeah, there were a lot of people from here. Roman, even Napo went, the Bit driver and and Enrique Berrios with Bitcoin Smiles. There was a big community of El Salvadorans there.
No, I definitely felt jealous to not be there. And the scenery just looked beautiful. And how was that ramping that up from never having done it to doing a conference of that size? I mean, the team you must have needed to support everything. How did you pull all that together?
Well,
and how did you adjust? Because I'm assuming when you started, you thought it would be much smaller. So how did you adjust to make sure the venue could accommodate everybody and the hotels and all of that?
Look, it was crazy. We had no expertise on a production this size. And actually, we had a very small team, honestly. I was commenting with Enrique that works with me at Madeira. We were in São Paulo before coming here to adopting Bitcoin.
For SatsConf?
SatsConf. And at the end, Lucas was, saying goodbye, thank you all for coming, and he put the whole team on stage for SatsConf. It was 3 times the team we had in Bitcoin Atlantis. And it was a much smaller conference. So I think we pulled some kind of miracle there in Madeira, honestly.
No, definitely. I mean, I've been involved in putting on events, and I know how much work it is.
Yeah.
And especially when you plan on something smaller and then it morphs into something big like that.
Honestly, the core team was 8 people. I'm not sure. But then we had a lot of help from the Bitcoin community as well. For example, Rockstar, Kamal, that organizes here the Adopting Bitcoin, Cooks, they came to help with the Bitcoin Lightning infrastructure, for example. Anna and Marcy came to help also on the programming and managing the speakers and the stages. There was a lot of help from the Bitcoin community, which was amazing. And then we also relied on a lot of local producers and basically delegated. For example, we did a music festival on the side, and it was organized by Pedro that has already a music production thing. So, of course, we managed the payments and some other stuff, but we relied on a lot of local suppliers that we already had relationships with, and it helps a lot, of course. And the venue helped because it was a stadium, and there was energy, bathrooms, all the big things were already there. The stadium accommodates 10,000 people, so a lot of things we made sure to simplify. And yeah, of course there were some flaws here and there. In the production we see them all, But to the outside, people were just it worked really well.
Yeah, everybody I talked to had an amazing time. So what type of like jump start did this give to the Free Madeira project and the circular Bitcoin economy? That was kind of more your vision for
Yes.
for all of this. I'm assuming for the people of Madeira to see that all these people from around the world, a lot of them who had never even heard of Madeira before, were willing to fly there and stay there, stay in hotels and spend money in their restaurants and everything. That they must have seen the potential that comes with adopting Bitcoin.
Yeah, the goal of doing the conference was exactly to raise awareness to the birth of Free Madeira. So what we were trying to do with the organization, and there it worked flawlessly because it was such a huge impact event. We estimate actually the direct estimate was 10 million on the local economy just out of this event, and of course the big names like Jack Dorsey and Michael Saylor and so on. And yeah, it got on the news, the headlines, everybody.
Well, and it's not just that one event. Then you have all these news stories, and then people hearing about Madeira for the first time, seeing the beautiful pictures. And we've seen that in El Salvador. Even sometimes the hit pieces, they'll do a piece, talking about Bukele's a dictator or Bitcoin's not working or something. But then they show all these beautiful pictures of beaches, and so it helps. It drives tourism also. So
Of course, and the energy, the conference was so successful. The speakers, the attendees, the energy was so positive. Like everybody was so happy then. That
was it one of the bigger events that's ever happened in Madeira?
Oh, it was the biggest by far.
Okay.
Biggest tech related, not even close, but even others. Like I talked with the promotional bureau, the tourism at the time. And the biggest event before this one had like 1,000 attendees. It was a health-related conference or something. This was by far the biggest one, and with the biggest names. Like we had Jack Dorsey, one of the founders of Twitter in Madeira, this small island in the Atlantic. So it had a huge impact, and it definitely changed the perception of a lot of people to what we were trying to do. Of course, there's still the sovereigns. There was a lot of, what are these people doing here? Bitcoin Ponzi scheme in Madeira. There was also that part.
Yeah.
But it definitely helped us. It was a huge kickstart to the whole project. And after the conference finished, and we started really properly doing the projects that Free Madeira was intended to do, the awareness was totally different, and it 6 months after, it's way more successful than if we didn't do the conference, for sure. So it really helped with the merchants, with the people perception, with the government perception, everyone.
So give people a sense of like what, if they go to Madeira, what they should expect realistically. What is the project focused on now? What are you guys doing? How much adoption is there from businesses? And is it possible to live only on Bitcoin? What is the uptake? And are you guys seeing an influx of Bitcoiners that are choosing to move there or vacation there?
Definitely. There was already some people, when we announced Bitcoin Atlantis, there was already people visiting before the conference. But after the conference, it was a total game changer. So we have a lot of projects for Free Madeira. Education, adoption, merchant, business, energy. There's only 6 months since the conference, but a lot has happened since. The community is growing a lot, and I mean a lot. It kind of exploded. Not only people visiting, but people that really moved there. And I mean on the tens at least. I think it's on the hundreds already now. And the local community also, because we've been doing meetups for a long time now, way before the conference, every month and so on, is also growing a lot. And besides that, in the beginning I told you I thought I was the only Bitcoiner in the island.
Yeah.
Apparently I was not. So when you put yourself out there, people show up, and there was more people around. So it started creating this snowball effect, and now we have hundreds of people at least on the community. Many more to come that I've been approached. Businesses, to our surprise, are accepting Bitcoin all over the place. We have now around 130 merchants and a backlog of people to go to. Um, we don't even have to go after them now. They come
They're
to us.
coming to you. That's what makes it so much easier is when they
It's
start coming to you.
great. So now we get the inbox. What shall I do to start accepting Bitcoin? So it really started rolling. Um, there's so many places now, especially in Funchal, of course, the main capital, that it's kind of normalized, which is great. Like the community goes to places, asks to pay with Bitcoin, they don't even blink. It's yeah, it's just another, which is great.
Yeah.
The normalization, it's amazing to see. And yeah, there's so many different kind of businesses that some people are living in the true Bitcoin standard, which is amazing to see as well. So merchant adoption is going well. We started we have the meetups, of course, but we started with the in-person classes as well. Enrique, our head of education, has started with the intro to Bitcoin classes, and we're planning to do the self-custody one. So we're going to have different matters. A lot of people interested. It's really nice. We are also working with the My Premier Bitcoin diploma. We just finished translating. We're just working on some graphics to finally publish it, and we expect on the first quarter next year to be able to put it on the students' tablets as an optional PDF. And we're going to plan some in-person classes as well with their diploma curriculum and so on. We're also working with the Looking Glass education, so we have translated their intro to money courses and so on that we're going to publish on our website. Maybe do some in-person classes as well. We are rebranding. We're restructuring. Restructuring the whole website to have all that info there, so merchants can approach it even more easily and share all the projects we're doing. And my focus now has been, well, of course we're trying to do everything, but there's only limited time and resources. But I'm very interested on the energy part in Madeira, because we are an island. It's a closed energy grid. I think Bitcoin mining can help a lot, not only on the renewables, but also on other kind of projects like biomass, for example. And we've been having discussions with the public power company, but also private entrepreneurs that have private companies that the energy producers on the island.
And how is energy primarily produced there?
It's a slow conversation, because the people were very skeptical about Bitcoin. So we're slowly getting there.
But how? What type of energy?
So we are still very dependent on fuel from the outside.
Okay.
Right now, roughly 70% is still fuel and liquid natural gas that comes in ships to the island, basically. And the rest is a mix of hydro, wind, and solar, basically. There's no geothermal in Madeira, unfortunately, like here in El Salvador.
But it seems like it looks like a very green place and mountainous. Seems like there would be a lot of potential for hydro there.
Yeah, but there's no big streams.
Okay.
There are small streams, which is actually one of the great things in Madeira. There's a thing called levadas, which is the water streams that permeate the whole island, and it's one of the best places in the world for trail running and just basically walking. People love it because of the levadas. But it mainly rains on the North Shore, and they have to bring with the levadas. They have to bring it to the South Shore as well. But it's little streams, so it's.
But have you seen? I was doing a show with Eric from Gridless, and seeing the setups that they do. They're not on big rivers. They're on little streams.
They are not, and we actually can talk to Daniel Closer that works with Eric at Gridless. Lives in Madeira, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He lives in Ponta do Paro. There's a lot of Bitcoiners now there. A lot of them. Daniel was, before he worked at Gridless, he already set up an energy company in Malawi. And then he came to Bitcoin to help the small hydro that he had there in Malawi, and now he's working with Erica to Readless. It's a
So has
very
he?
cool
But
story
he
as well.
doesn't see any potential there in Madeira.
We are working on it.
Okay.
So we are trying to see if there are really some places that where we can do it. I think he already identified like 5 places that are maybe possible to do it, but we're still investigating. We're still in that stage. But yeah, so if you can introduce mining to the private operators, if you can do other projects on our own, biomass project. I was very bullish on the biomass project, although it's not easy to implement. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
We have a big industry of banana, sugarcane, and wine production. Just that fuel in itself, like the biomass, could be used for a biomass project. So we are now in this calculating part because there's a lot of moving parts. We have to put everything on the Excel, the tonnage that is produced and, everything. So it's a complicated project, but I would love to see it through. And if Bitcoin, on the public perception, if Bitcoin could be seen as something that helps the energy grid of Madeira, and because of that, it would contribute to the a more independent energy grid instead of relying on external, imports of fuel, it would be amazing. So I really want to see if you can put those projects forward. And the other ones are just helping some solar producers and wind producers to calculate if you can use the excess that they produce to mine as well, to increase their profitability and so on. So that's a big part that I'm trying to focus on now. And the other one is I'm negotiating a building downtown in downtown Funchal, which is the main city, to do a Bitcoin business hub. We don't have a full name yet, but we call it like this for now, where we can have the Free Madeira headquarters. We can have a co-working space where Bitcoin companies can incorporate. They can have an address there. Even international companies, they need to operate in the Schengen space, in the Euro area. Maybe it's a possible good location for them. We can help them incorporate and all the legal stuff. And if they have workers there, they have the co-working space as well and offices. We're going to have the workshop rooms there. Other projects like sovereign engineering that I created with it was me, Gigi, Pablo, and Martin, which is a cohort for Nostra and Lightning developers. The third one is happening right now in Madeira. So we want to put it in the building as well. Oh, there's so many plans and so little time.
Well, I know you kind of have your hands in a lot of different things. You were mentioning to me when we were in Nashville for the HRF event that there's something you guys are putting together for people that are looking for residency, where they can do that by putting and in general, I'm not a big Bitcoin ETF believer. I have serious concerns about going that direction, but specifically for this and what you guys are looking to do, I could see it being something that would be very enticing for Bitcoiners to be able to get residency in the EU, and leading to a passport, I believe, through this process. So explain a little bit about what this opportunity is.
So the thing is, the Golden Visa program in Portugal was very successful. It's been going for many years. And in the past, it was possible, for example, to buy property. You would invest in a property, 500K, and you would apply for residency and then nationality. So for
and you only had to be there like a week or two a year, right?
Yeah, it was a simple process. It was very successful. But at one point, I think last 2 years or something. So the original idea was to do something similar. Try to help Bitcoiners that wanted the Portuguese passport to buy some property there and apply for the Golden Visa. But then the Portuguese government cut the investment through real estate. Because of all the housing prices going up, all the narratives like elsewhere. So they cut that option. And
was that completely cut, or was it just certain areas? Okay, I thought it was just in Lisbon and certain. Okay,
it was. They don't care. It's just we're gonna cut this everywhere. Although in some places it was very welcome, but our government works. So we kind of stopped thinking about it. But then a few months back, And the Golden Visa process now, it's only available through investment funds, basically. And a few years back, I saw this announcement of a crypto fund. It was, so they would, you could apply for a Golden Visa, and they would buy Bitcoin through ETFs from BlackRock. But then, it was kind of sketchy. There's some shitcoining in the middle. The rules were a bit crazy, but they could apply for a Golden Visa with that investment. So it made me think again on the process. I said, fuck, if these guys can do this, I can make something more proper for Bitcoin maxes.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking. And yeah, in the end, we're about to launch. We're going to hopefully still this year. An investment fund specifically for Bitcoin maxes, and we tried to design it the best that we could with the available jurisdiction and laws and everything. So if you invest 500k euros, we will put 80% on Bitcoin on self custody through Unchained, and the other 20% will be invested on Ego Debt Capital, so on the Bitcoin VC ecosystem on seed and Series A companies, and yeah, if you invest, you'll get the Golden Visa. The fund is 8 years, so we'll liquidate the fund in 8 years, and we'll repay in Sats again. So yeah, we're gonna launch that, and we're very bullish that that Bitcoiners will see it as the better way to get the Golden Visa, because this is, of course, for people who really want the passport, right?
And so it's an 8-year commitment.
Yes.
Okay. And then within that, I think it's 5 years you have to have the visa before you can apply for the passport.
Yes.
Okay. And what other costs will be involved through that process? Do you know what?
So it's a 2% management fee and a 10% carry in the end.
10%
carry. So we have a 10% cut in the end, and we distribute 90% of the profits back to the investors.
And then what other costs as far as for getting the Golden Visa?
The Golden Visa process in itself is not expensive. Of course, you can work with us or other recommended lawyer firms for it. It should cost like 4 or 5k to go through the process, basically.
Okay. And is somebody's whole family eligible through that? Okay.
So you apply in the name of one people, but then you reunite 5 years later when you do the citizenship. You can bring the whole family. They all get passports.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And then the passport program. I mean, to get the passport at that time, is there like a language component? Do you have to?
No, that's the easy part about the program. So on the first 5 years, you only have to spend a week in Portugal. And there's no language requirement, so
okay,
it's all good.
No, I mean, it sounds like a very promising program compared to other things that are out there.
Yeah, of course, it's not perfect. Yeah. We know Bitcoiners would never do this if they can self-custody their own Bitcoin, right? Yeah. Of course, this is for people who are already, they want a passport, they want to invest in some kind of thing to get the passport. And we try to create the best instrument for Bitcoin maxis to be able to do so, where they don't lose as much as on, because most investments, I saw the other funds, just ESG, all that kind of thing. They don't want to sell their Bitcoin to invest in this, solar farm somewhere that is going to exchange a fiat. Imagine that fiat in 8 years, even if they do a return of 10%, which they most do, it's nothing compared with the CAGR of Bitcoin, right? So.
Definitely. So you think that you guys will open this, you said this year, you mean like hopefully 2024, or you mean like in 25?
24, hopefully. Okay. We're just finishing the last touches on the regulation side and all of that. Hopefully still this year,
okay.
Yes.
So you'll make an announcement when it's...
I will eventually. Okay. Although there's nothing, there's a lot of rules. You can't really market the thing. It's more...
Yeah,
it's.
But
there's
in
a lot of
the Bitcoin community, things like that get out pretty quickly. So that's that's the.
There's a lot of things that I'm still learning about all the formalities and the regulations and so on. I know I can speak about it, but we can't create like a website and then tell them invest and you're gonna. So there's a lot of, and I have fortunately I have partners who are working on the legal side on everything. So because I'm more of the face of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully soon enough.
And have you already heard from a lot of Bitcoiners that have interest in doing this?
Yeah, yeah, and other people like Jeff Booth, for example, we had conversations with EgoDet about it. They say I'm not bullish enough because I was a bit, I don't know if really people will go for it, but he said there's a lot of demand.
Yeah.
Like Nico, for example, from EgoDet, he said they want a passport, so
Yeah.
they are investing in this bullshit other funds because they have to. So if you create this, I'm sure there will be a lot of people interested. So I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, and the EU passport is kind of the gold standard out there because it gives you so much availability to travel, but you don't have the baggage that comes with having like a US passport where you're stuck to this worldwide taxation.
Yes.
You can have the passport, but then choose your jurisdiction you want to live in.
Yes.
So
Apparently, it's still in high demand.
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. No, I'm super eager to get over to Madeira. I mean, it sounds like the climate is amazing, the scenery, obviously the fact that it's a Bitcoin friendly community is a huge pull. So
You can come anytime, of course.
I'm planning on my.
You're invited already.
Well,
the house is on.
Trust me, I'm gonna be calling you up to help me find some accommodations.
No, the house is on me. So let's make it clear.
Be careful what you offer because I will take you up on it. So
no, it's guaranteed. The house is on me. I'll welcome you anytime, of course.
My son is graduating from high school this year. My wife and I are going to be empty nesters, so we'll have a little more flexibility. So yeah. Perfect. So it's on our list for next year.
Anytime.
What are the best months to come?
It's actually good all around the year.
Okay.
Of course, high season is usually the summer. But it was.
I actually like a little cooler because it's so warm here all the time.
Then you should go at the beginning of the year, actually.
Okay.
Usually January, February, March. There was a big tradition of the German and British people coming on those months because it was still warm.
Yeah.
Compared
they're getting
to
out of winter where they're coming. Yeah.
So it's good all year round, honestly. And we'll do. We announced Bitcoin Atlantis only for 2028, as you know, because we want to focus on all the other projects. But we'll do smaller things.
Okay.
I have some plans for some, more directed summits, like on energy, for example, and bringing something smaller and more focused on different parts. We'll have all the other summits and other small conferences, so you'll have an excuse to maybe join on those days as well.
Perfect. Is there anything else people should know about Madeira?
Well, visit, I would say. Come over, verify. Madeira, even if you're not really interested on the Bitcoin meetups and so on, Madeira is a very nice place to visit.
Yeah,
and people are usually shocked when they arrive there because it's still a nice place. Most people never heard about Madeira. You didn't before the announcement, and they are shocked when they arrive because it's like, oh, amazing! They fall in love. We have the highest rate of return customers ever on the tourism, like worldwide, because people fall in love with the place. It's a really, really nice place to visit.
What's the culinary scene like? Is it a mix?
Food is amazing.
It's very Portuguese food, or is it like a mix from kind of everywhere?
No, a lot of the basis is Portuguese food, but the Portuguese food is amazing. It's one of the best countries to eat in Europe, in my opinion. Mediterranean food, but fresh produce. You have fish. We have fish all over.
Yeah,
fresh fish and fresh meat, and it's come over, visit. You'll understand what I'm trying to explain.
Okay. Well, I know you have a vacation rental business, so for people who are looking to come, obviously that's the first place they should check out. So how would they find out about that?
The company is called An Island Apart. So anislandapart.com, and just you can pay in Bitcoin, and we have properties all over the islands, and yeah, if I can help, there's rental cars that accept Bitcoin. We can get you everything.
They can go and be
if you
want
to spend
only.
your sats, you can be you can be on sats for the majority of the trip. So
awesome. No, that would definitely be our agenda. Any other stuff that you want to make sure people know about? I know you have the publishing that you're doing.
Yeah, so if you want to follow us, freemadeira.org on Twitter, on Nostra. We changed the logo recently, so we really love the Bitcoin Atlantis logo, so everything's like common now. the Free Madeira project and Bitcoin Atlantis and everything we're doing, you can find us there. Also, we're redesigning the website, so freemadeira.org will have a new website soon where you'll have all the information. Monstera Media also is going through a small rebrand where we have all the Portuguese books, if you're interested. And the fund will be called Basalto, but it's not online yet.
Okay.
But anything, reach out to me. I'm André Loja on Twitter, on Nostra. I'm André Loja everywhere. No psyops. So, so you can reach out directly, and I'll help you. To it.
Perfect. I'm curious as to how you guys have been funding the project, and if there's people that want to get involved, can they donate, or what's the best way for them to help support what you guys are doing? Because I know there's a lot of expense that comes with all of these things.
Sure, that would help a lot, of course. On the new website, we'll have some options finally for people to donate directly. We are a non-profit, and so we can accept donations, even if it's a business with the tax exemptions and all of that. We were fortunate enough that the conference was successful even financially, so we have a bit of a runway. And now we have some small companies that are also helping us with something. Shout out to Paystand, for example, that gave us our first grant. And we are applying for other grants as well, like HRF and OpenSats and so on. They have now the community projects opened up as well. So hopefully we're going to get some help soon so we can extend the runway. A lot of it has come from my own pockets, honestly. I hired the small team that is working on Free Madeira now. I hired them directly through my other companies, but of course I need to eventually put them on Free Madeira. So yeah, if people are interested, reach out, and we'll have the website soon as well
Okay,
so you can help.
Perfect. There's no Geyser Fund or anything else that they can.
We have a Geyser Fund as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget all the things Charlie did.
Perfect. Well, I am looking forward to showing up on your doorstep there sometime in the next year.
Thank you.
And,
You're welcome.
and seeing the island. It sounds amazing. I mean, really, it sounds like just the perfect climate, the setting, all of it, the kind of smaller population, it's windy mountain roads along the coast.
We are very fortunate.
Yeah.
Very fortunate. It's a great place to live.
Awesome.
To raise a family.
I apologize for the weather here in El Salvador right now. You're gonna have to come back.
Yeah, I was promised something else.
Usually it's just beautiful right now. So it's been my wife. We woke up this morning. We're like, my gosh, like enough with the rain.
Yeah, I was totally rug pulled. Honestly, we arrived, on a full pouring rain. Yes.
Well, are you coming back in the end of January for the Plan B conference?
Not so soon.
Okay.
I have a wife and 4 kids and businesses. I promised her that I would, stay put for a while, because this year was just too crazy for me already. With the conference, with everything that happened. I visited a lot of places after the conference, so I need to settle up a bit. Yeah. But of course, I'll go to 2 or 3 other places, but not so soon.
I get it. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming in today, and I'm stoked to be able to come visit you guys. That sounds like a lot of amazing things happening.
Thank you, Mike.